Welcome to a new lesson. In this lesson, we will be investigating graphs of linear functions. Let's take a look at our first example. Elimina purchased an MP3 player and had downloaded 3 songs. Each subsequent day, she downloaded 2 songs. Which graph represents this situation? Explain your choice. Before we look at the graphs, let us look at the specific information given in this example. So let's reread this question. So Elimina purchased an MP3 player and the same day downloaded 3 songs. Each subsequent day, she downloaded 2 more songs. This means that she started off with 3 songs, then increased each other day by 2 songs. So 3 plus 2 is 5, and then add 2 more, 7, add 2 more, 9, and so on. So let's use this information to analyze our graphs. And let's take a look at our graph C first. Initially, the graph says that when Elimina purchased the MP3 player, she had no songs. That's true, but however, the same day she got 3 songs. So that's why this graph is not correct. Let's take a look at graph A. It starts off with 3 songs because the first day that Elimina purchased the MP3 player, she also downloaded 3 songs. However, each day the song number should increase by 2. If you look at the next day, it is at 4, the next day it's at 5, the next day it's at 6, the next day it's at 7. So each day this graph shows that she downloaded 1 song, not 2. Therefore, graph A is not the answer either. This gives us graph B. It starts with 3 songs when the MP3 player was purchased, and that each subsequent day 2 songs were purchased or downloaded. Then it's 7, and then it's 9. So therefore graph B is our answer. The next is an activity to help us understand the slope value. So we're given graph y equals mx plus 6 for different values of m. M is, in this case, we're going to use as an integer. We're going to draw each graph on the same set of axes. We're going to include values of m that are negative and 0. We're going to use the table to record the results. The first equation is given to us. Y is equal to x plus 6. Notice there is no m value. This means that m1 or m value is 1. 1 times x plus 6 is equal to y. That means m is equal to 1. Therefore, the slope is also equal to 1. And we're going to graph this on our grid. Here is our graph. It has x-intercepts at negative 6, and it has a y-intercept at positive 6. So it's negative 6 and 0, and 0 and 6. Our next equation is going to be negative 2x plus 6. Now the value of m has changed to negative 2. Our slope is also negative 2, and then we're going to draw this on our grid. And it looks something like this. So the x-intercept is now at negative 2 and 0. Our y-intercept is 0 and 6. And we'll have one more equation. Y is equal to 0x plus 6. The value of m is 0. Our slope is 0. And we're going to graph this equation. Notice there's no x-intercepts, And the y-intercept, it's still at 0 and 6. From this activity, we can deduce that the y-intercept hasn't changed. It's always 6. While the slope is the coefficient in front of the x. Let's take a look at a different activity. In this activity, we have y equals 2x plus, and we're going to be changing or differentiating values for b. We're going to draw each graph in the same set of axes, and we're going to include the values of b that are negative and 0. We're going to use the table to record our results. So let's begin with y equals 2x plus 6. The 6 is the value of b. The slope is 2 because it's a coefficient in front of the x. The y-intercept we'll already know it's going to be 0 and 6 because the 6 is going to be our y-intercept. And let's graph it. So here is our first graph. What's missing is the x-intercept. From the graph, we can see that it's at -3 and at 0. Let's make a new equation. Y will equal to 2x. We're going to have the slopes the same. And now we'll add a 0 instead of 6. So the value of b is 0. The slope is still 2. The y-intercept in this case is going to be 0 and 0. And let's graph this equation. So this is what the equation will look like. Notice that this line is parallel, or the distance between this line and the red line is always the same, so therefore they're parallel. The slope is the same. That explains the parallel idea. And in this case, the x-intercept is also the same as the y-intercept at 0, 0. Let's have one more equation where we have a negative y-intercept. So now we'll choose the y-intercept as -4. Our value of b has changed to -4. The slope is still at 2. And let's graph this equation. But of course, don't forget that our y-intercept is going to be at 0 and -4. And here is our graph. Notice all the lines are the same because they have the same slope. And the x-intercept, in this case, occurs at 2 and 0. Now I want to go back to our first activity because I believe there is one little mistake. Let's take a look at the green graph. It says the slope is -2x. That means the slope should be going down as we go from left to right. So again, the y-intercept is at 6, or 0 and 6, and the x-intercept will be approximately at positive 3 in this case, positive 3 and 0. So we have to be careful whenever we have a negative slope, in this case -2, the graph goes down from left to right. Now knowing or doing activity 1 and 2, we could come up with a general idea of what these values represent. What do you mean these values? Well, there's a general equation of a line, and it looks like this. Y equals mx plus b. M is the slope, while b is the y-intercept. As long as the line is written in this form, we know the slope and we know the y-intercept. Knowing this, let's solve our example 2. Predict the appearance of graph y equals negative 2x plus 4. Verify your prediction by graphing. So now let's overlay the equation of slope y-intercept form. In this case, we could recognize the slope is negative 2, and the y-intercept is 4. Recall that slope is really rise over run. And since it's negative, it goes down. How many units? Exactly 2. Remember, any whole number can be written as a fraction. So the rise is 2 units down for 1 unit to the right. Let's draw this on our grid. We know the y-intercept is 4, so we start drawing this graph at 4. And for 2 units down, 1 unit across we go to the right. For 2 units down, we go 1 unit across. For 2 units down, we go 1 unit across. Then we connect all the points together. And here is our equation of the line and the graph of such line.